What's going on, everybody? What's going on? This is another exciting episode of the Extraordinary Man Podcast. You guys know who I am by now. If you don't, let me remind you. My name is Phil Jones, Mike Jones. Have you guys know me personally or professionally? And we are here with another podcast episode. And today we're going to have a conversation about something that I think is highly essential to be talking about. And in my age bracket, and like various other age brackets, the conversation about marriage is a huge topic. In a lot of these social circles, it's a huge thing because many people that are within my age bracket are unfortunately going through divorces. Earlier, later, whatever have you, and there's a lot of mitigating reasons why these things are happening. So before we get into it, what I'm going to talk about with you guys, just a couple of my thoughts. When it comes down to marriage, marriage is literally the ultimate commitment that you can make to a person. You're literally committing your life, your resources, your hard work, your dedication, your tears, your emotions, everything under the sun to a single individual for the remainder of your life. When you think about this, it's not buying a car, it's not buying a home, it's not something that you can just swap out at a moment's notice. It is literally you saying that, hey, every aspect of what I'm trying to do with this person at my side until death do us part. At least that's what it used to be. At one point in time, marriage used to be something that people took very serious. It was one of those things to where religion and various other things held people together and held them bound. There were communities of people that kept relationships together because that was what happened. That was what you did. Now, when you look at the benefits of marriages, well, number one, you know where your children are coming from. Keeps the maternal and paternal lineage going strong. On top of it, it's passing down the resources through the generations. It's about consolidating the wealth and consolidating the resources in order to build something greater. I mean, there's a multitude of different reasons for why marriages are super important and why they, in my opinion, would never go out of style. However, in this new modern era, unfortunately, that is not the case. There are a bunch of different thought processes that are tying into the reason why marriages are deteriorating, and we're going to get into some of those today. So, let's go ahead and look at a couple of stats, shall we? You guys know I like to bring the facts. That's what we do here at the Extraordinary Man Podcast. So, let's go and pull up some divorce statistics. So, this is from a website called petrellilaw.com. These were some 2022 statistics. I'm pretty sure there are newer statistics out, but I just thought that this was a very interesting one because it got a little into what I want to touch into today. So we read right here into the website. It says, what is the divorce rate in the United States? According to the United States Census Bureau, the divorce rate in the United States was 3.2 per 1,000 population in 2019, down from 3.6 per 1,000 population 2018, which means approximately 827,261 divorces were recorded in 2019, with the total number of divorces since 2000 topping 8.3 million. Now look at this highlighted portion right here, if you guys can see it. What percentage of marriages end in divorce? According to the American Psychological Association, approximately 40 to 50% of marriages end in divorce. The divorce rate for second marriages is even higher at approximately 60.67 of the second marriages ending in divorce. Now let's just stop right there. Just really want you guys to wrap your mind around that number. 40 to 50% of marriages end in divorce. So if a million people get married, statistically, 500,000 of those marriages are almost guaranteed to end in a divorce. Now, the reasons for these divorces are, there's a lot. There's no shortage of reasons to why people get divorced. It could be based on infidelity, it could be based on finance, it could be based on a multitude of different things. So I didn't even plan this into my initial presentation, but let's go ahead and look up some of the reasons why, or what are the main reasons why people file for divorce. What are the main reasons for divorce? See, Google already beat me to it. So let's see if they got specifics here. Okay, so right here it says lack of commitment, 73.2. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but we'll touch a little bit into that if we can. Too much arguing and conflict, 55%. Infidelity, 54.6. Marrying too young, 45.7. Unrealistic expectations, 45.3. And lack of equality. Now, this is coming from some place called Psych Central. Let me see if I can find something else to give me something a little different. So, this is coming from Forbes.com saying leading causes for divorce. 43% report lack of family support. The contributor, Christy Bieber, she's a attorney, and also Adam Ramirez, JD, coming from Forbes.com. You guys get to take a look at this article if you like. Let's see. So this is from 2024. So this is something a little bit more recent. It says the state of divorce in 2024, a total of 689,308 divorces occurred in 2021, and approximately half of all the marriages ended in divorce, with subsequent marriages failing at higher rates. When a couple divorces, they must state grounds for divorce in the court. This is the reason for the ending of the marriage and dictates the type of divorce being filed. Most people choose a no fault, citing irreconcilable differences, and irreconcilable differences are indeed a common divorce cause, with 31% of couples who ended their marriage reporting that incompatibility was the reason. However, while simply not getting along is a common reason for divorce, infidelity remains a bigger issue. In total, 34% of marriages among surveyed respondents ended due to an affair. Adultery is one of the grounds for a fault divorce in court. However, even when the extramarital affair occurs, sometimes the couple pursues no fault divorce instead of a fault divorce because it's simpler. Other common causes for divorce include lack of family support, lack of intimacy, too much conflict, financial stress. But while these issues cause marriages to end, couples who divorce don't always recognize the problems as signs for marriages in trouble. Just 21% of survey respondents said disapproval of a spouse by family or friends was a sign of marriage was at risk. Despite the lack of family support, was a leading factor at 43% of divorces. So as you guys can see, there's a myriad of different reasons to why people are getting divorced. And unfortunately, you can pick and choose across the board because obviously no two situations are alike. However, the one thing that is the common understanding is the fact that no matter what the circumstances are, is that man, marriages are ending like crazy, and it does not seem to be an appealing opportunity for the younger generation looking at these higher rates of divorce to enter into marriage. People fall in love, people want to be together, but the marriage, the commitment situation does not seem to be an appealing option as it once was. So I'm going to take you guys to a YouTube video that I looked up. Actually, I got a couple of them for you today. So guys, walk with me. Walk with me. I'm going to walk you down, and then I'm going to give you guys my final thoughts toward the end. So one of them is 15 reasons why 50% of marriages end in divorce. This is from alux.com, YouTube channel with 4.49 million subscribers. Shout out to them. I'm not going to go through all 15, or I'll go ahead and I'll just kind of flash through it because I don't want to, take up too much of you guys' time. But at the same time, I do want to practice fair use with this content just to give you guys an idea of some of the things that they surveyed and they were able to pull up. So let me go ahead and share my screen and let's see what we come up with here. Blow it up. Make sure it's nice and big for all of you guys to see. And let's get some of this beautiful bean footage, shall we?
Subscribed yet? You're missing out. Number 1. Gender equality. Yes, Aluxers, you heard that correctly. Gender equality. In countries with more women in the workforce earning better salaries, the divorce rate is higher. Research has recently confirmed that women who get a promotion at work often ask for a divorce shortly thereafter. In households where the wife earns more, divorce is also more prevalent. The risk of divorce increases by 33% when women earn more than men.
I want to stop right there. That can be interpreted on so many different levels, but in traditional situations, it is generally a man's job to take care of the family. What happens is a lot of times women who are put in positions to where they look at men as financial support, when that is no longer a factor, the need for him seems to decrease. Now, sometimes I do know that when it comes to some men, when they earn less than their spouses, they tend to, the self-esteem gets bruised a little bit. And in a lot of cases, what happens is the fact that because of how women were taught that men were supposed to be, that they don't see very much value in him outside of his finances and the lifestyle that he can provide for her. So I do think that there's a bunch of misconstrued understandings when people are going into marriages thinking that money is the hugest bearing that there is. And then shortly thereafter, we find out how much of a fallacy that is. Let's continue.
And MarketWatch.com affirms that ego plays a big part in this, and we're not just referring to the men here. Number 2. Money, sex, status, and biological clock. What do all of these words have in common? Well, they're all cited as reasons why people get married, and no surprises, they're all the wrong reasons. If you marry for any of these reasons, your marriage will be on the rocks before you're able to pour a double shot of whiskey. There's a great proverb that says, "He who marries for money earns it." It might be fun and games at the beginning, but money runs out, people change when money is involved, and things can get pretty messy. Same goes for sex. Hey Luxers, if you're marrying because that person is fan-fucking-tastic in the sack, it's not going to last. Be friends and love that person first. You can
All right, I'm gonna stop that briefly. I like the fact that they mention these things, and you very seldom see any of the other websites mentioning any of these reasons because dynamics do change. Jobs change, careers change, certain dynamics change. And if you don't have, if your foundation is built on something that has no real bearing, like money, like sexual endeavors, people get older, they don't perform the same, and you get used to things. You sometimes you want different things, like what interested you, what was interesting to you at one point in time in your life may no longer be interesting to you years down the line, and that has to be taken into consideration, but we don't think about that in the moment. And unfortunately, a lot of people who do marriage counseling services and who actually talk, you don't have a lot of elders who are keeping it real with young people when they get ready to go into relationships. Because let me tell you, there's a lot of these things that were never discussed. A lot of these things I never heard of, that when I encountered them, I had no idea. I was poorly equipped to deal with them. Church pastor didn't tell us, family didn't tell us. There was nobody there to actually say, hey, this will happen at some point in time, and you have to learn how to adjust. Let's continue.
always work on the sex part as you grow together as a couple. Status is short-lived, and marrying just because you want a baby is hellishly selfish to the person you're marrying. Don't be that guy or girl. You're much better than that, Alexer. Number 3. Your partner is a mama's boy. Moms do their male children a massive disservice by treating them like little princes. They grow up expecting shit to be done for them, and they take zero responsibility for their actions.
I'm going to skip through that one, but I'm going to go ahead and touch on it briefly. Men have to be men. And what I mean by men have to be men is that you can't be a leader of a situation and you are incapable of taking the lead because some external factors have convinced you that you are some sort of prize outside of what you produce. Unfortunately, that just is never going to be the case when it comes down to men and how we are appreciated in the world. We are appreciated based off of what we produce. And unfortunately, the one thing I can tell mothers, especially single mothers, is that the best thing that you can do if you don't have a father for your child, for your son, get him a male mentor, football coach, hockey coach, boys and girls club, taekwondo. Get him in front of males who are examples of what you think that he should emulate. People who will teach him discipline and value and hard work. Something about a man that's delivering that to another man is invaluable. No matter how you see it, it's not about you. It's about him. He has to go out there and go live that life, not you. Let's go ahead into the next.
Number 4. Couples stop trying. Hey Luxers, marriage is damn hard work. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. There's no such thing as 50-50, it's 100-100. And if your partner can only give 20, then you need to give 180.
That's a big one right there. We're not looking at a situation to where you give what you want to give and I give what I want to give and then somehow we make it work. A marriage is all in. Those are your kids, and your as in you two made these children. You two committed to the lifestyle for these children. You two are raising these children. There's no a woman's job and a man's job. I can get in the kitchen and cook a meal the same way she can. I can wash those dishes the same way that she can. Everything that she does, I can also do. Now, if we have an agreement and an understanding for how we want to do things, great, even better. However, sometimes that dynamic changes and sometimes we have to make alterations. I'm a firm believer that you come to the table and you start renegotiating terms because life changes. She may not be working. She may decide to go back into the workforce. Okay, now she has different responsibilities. We have to make the accommodations for whatever it is that we're trying to do together. So there's a lot of things that everybody said, and again, this is situation specific. But the one thing that is not situation specific is that this is an all in situation. There is no my way, your way, what I like, what you like, and then we just bring in the table what it is that we want to bring into the table. It's all at the table. Finances, emotions, sex, the whole nine. It's all at the table. Nothing is exclusive, nothing is off limits. I like this one.
Takes a lot of willpower and courage to keep going when things are hard. Many people give up, especially when the romance is dead. Couples get lazy, too comfortable, and don't make an effort anymore. This can often lead to a partner feeling neglected and look to seek affirmation and excitement elsewhere. This situation is easily avoidable, and even if it's just you putting in the effort initially, your partner will make the changes too, just give it time. Remind yourself of the reasons why you fell in love in the first place, and start recreating those beautiful memories. Number 5. Mo money, big problem.
I'm going to get through this last one, but this is a huge one. I'm going to get through this last one, and then we're going to switch off into something else because I want to make sure that you guys go up here and go catch this content creator and go and watch the entire video on their end.
Money does affect a marriage, there's no denying it, and the lack thereof can go two ways. Either people stay together because it's not financially viable to split up, which is a tough situation to find yourself in, or they split up because the lack of finances causes too much strain on their marriage. To ensure this doesn't happen to your children, be sure to watch our videos, 15 Things to Teach Your Child About Money.
All right, so I ain't giving out the free advertising. However, let's get into that one before we switch off to the next thing. Money, 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 credit, the whole nine, bills, everything pertaining to this specific subject matter is so crucial. It's not just a discussion. Like you have to be on board with this part of the game. And if you are not, you are asking to fail. You are literally begging on your knees, please, please fail me. Because you cannot do this thing without having an understanding of a plan of what we're going to do. Sometimes money gets tight, sometimes jobs lay off, industries, things happen. And people need to be able to come to the table and just be open and say, hey, we may need to downsize. We may need to do whatever we need to do. We may need to cut back on how many times that we go out. We may need to cut down on our luxuries. We may need to cancel that gym membership for a while. We may need to be uncomfortable for a while till we get back to where it is that we're trying to be. But no matter what the circumstances are, people have to stop being so squeamish about money. And it's like one of those things to where it's like I know a lot of people who say, "Oh, well, you know, my family, we never talked about money. We never talked about money," and they have this disdain for talking about money. It's like, dude, that's what we should be talking about. Understanding how to balance a checkbook, pay your credit cards, understanding the basics of budgeting It's something that should be taught in the house. Don't give me that, oh, well, they don't teach finances in school. It's not their job. It's your parents' job. They've been paying bills for the entirety that you've been alive. They should be ushering you into the life of, here's how credit works. Here's how this works. You pay this off in full, or if you can't pay it off in full, you make sure you keep this down. You make sure you got XYZ amount of your savings for a rainy day fund, this much liquid, this much for investing. These are interest rates. This is what you deal with it every day. Why should somebody outside of your house have to teach your children about finances? It's completely stupid, in my humble opinion. Stop waiting for somebody else to do that part of your job. These are essentials. These are things that you do every day. This is the light bill. This is the water bill. This is the internet bill. This is cable TV. This is a luxury. This is a commodity. This is a necessity. This is something that we buy as far as food is concerned that we keep in the house. This is what this is. This is. This is. This is how you grocery shop. This is how you determine what to have so you don't overspend buying things that you already have. These are things that you should be teaching your kids. It's not the school's job to do that for you because you do it every month. Point blank, period. I give no parent any pass when it comes down to that. I don't think that is a viable solution. But again, when it comes down to just the understanding of money, especially how they mentioned it, sometimes we are unequally yoked when it comes down to finances. Sometimes some party is the financial drain. They like the fast food. They like the Uber Eats. They like to go out and taste the world. They like to drink. They like to smoke cigarettes. They like to indulge in other things. Whatever the circumstances are, you guys have to come to the table and figure out how to rectify those problems, especially if you do not have the money to cater to those luxuries. And if you got a lot of money, that's a whole different problem of its own. I'm gonna let the people who are sitting in the top brackets and have those issues discuss those issues because I can't speak on that right now. But anyway, that's part of where I wanted to get with that. Again, this is alux.com. I want you guys to make sure to go and visit this video. I will include the link to this video in the description. But also on top of that, there's one thing that I feel is so important. Now that we've discussed a bunch of the reasons why people don't marry, there's another factor. There's another factor. What happens when people are turned off and they're not choosing marriage at all? I didn't even get a chance to watch this as I was preparing this video or preparing this segment for you guys. So we're going to go ahead and react to it together. And I'm going to pull it up for you guys. And this one is, this is from content creator CNBC International. And this is about, why are people not getting married anymore? I just can't wait to hear where this is finna go. So anyway, I'm not going to even hold you. Let's get right into it.
No one knows exactly when the first marriage took place. People have been getting married for thousands of years. It's an ancient institution, but for some people, it's perhaps a bit too ancient.
89% of the world's population now live in countries with falling marriage rates. This is especially pronounced in the richest countries. Among the 38 OECD nations, most recorded between 7 and 10 marriages per 1,000 people in 1970. By 1995, this fell to around 5 to 7 marriages, and it continues to plummet today.
So why is this happening, and will it spell the end of marriage as we know it?
A stable marriage has often been associated with financial stability. Married households in the US hold significantly higher wealth than cohabiting couples or singles. But despite this, the marriage rate in the US has dropped by nearly 60% since the 1970s. And the median age for first-time marriages has increased for both women and men.
For a variety of reasons, I think upper middle class Americans are just much more likely to be kind of intentional about sequencing their lives in terms of education first, work second, marriage third, and the baby carriage after all of that. And so they're just in a much better spot both financially and relationship-wise when they go ahead and have kids.
The cost of marriage usually starts with a wedding. This is a tiny wedding cake I bought in London for $50, thankfully just within our production budget. But if you wanted the same cake, but big enough to serve 100 people, then you would have to pay at least $250. Add in the price of a venue, a tuxedo, a dress, drinks and music, and suddenly you're looking at a very large bill.
Getting married is just the tip of the iceberg. Starting a family adds all sorts of economic commitments. It typically starts with a house, followed by a car, maybe kids, which means more expenses like books, toys, and family vacations. In a nutshell, you become a fully engaged consumer in the economy. Some people choose not to go down this road, while others simply can't afford to.
From about 1980 to the present, there's been no greater increase in family instability than there has been among this working class demographic in the US, sort of in basically the second quintile of the family income distribution. I think there are a couple of big factors here in play. So one major factor, of course, is sort of the changing economy and the way in which working class men are less likely to be stably employed.
American adults from high-income groups have maintained a stable marriage rate since the 1970s. But among the middle and especially lower-income groups, marriages declined to 66% and 38% respectively by 2018.
Okay, so I'm going to stop right there. Did y'all hear what she said? The higher income marriage brackets have stayed consistent, whereas the middle and the lower income brackets have been on a consistent decline. That kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier about how money and finances play a large part in marriage. And a caveat to that part of the money specifically is lifestyle. You have a rising group of people who are obsessed with lifestyle, not necessarily the money, not necessarily the needs being met, but having more than enough, having excess. They want a certain kind of car. They want a certain type of purse. They want a certain type of vacation, a certain type of lifestyle. And I believe that that obsession with lifestyle and obsession with the lives that Instagram and TikTok and various other social media influencers have led people to believe that even if they did not want to believe it, they're still consumers of content. And sometimes you look at what you have and you become unappreciative solely because of the fact that, well, if they can do it, why can't I? I work every day. I should be able to. And it makes you start to feel a way about what you have. So I think that's an interesting point made here.
Since the 1970s, there has been a decline in the number of American men without college degrees in the US labor force. The last 50 years also saw their earnings stagnate and decrease.
By contrast, we're seeing women having a more secure footing in today's sort of more service post-industrial economy. And so we know that marriage is many things, but it's also in part a financial undertaking. And so when you have men who are losing ground financially in this working class demographic and women who are gaining ground, I think they both kind of see that the guy is less marriageable. And so they're less likely to kind of get married in the first place and more likely to get divorced in the second place.
So what y'all just heard him say, because of the fact that the men are less economically sound in comparison to their female counterparts, men and women collectively are less likely to get married. Women's side are seeing men as less viable options because they are out earning or outpacing them in that prospective situation. Whereas the men, I don't have very much to offer. I don't have a lot of stable employment. I don't have a solid education. So with that, I'm not really in a marriageable situation. It's a play, and it's amazing how that works.
Another phenomenon that affects marriage is the rise of secularism in modern societies. Here in the UK, for example, 1 in 3 people say they have no religion, up 25% since 2011. And this is a key reason why marriage is no longer the only basis for family formation.
In 2021, 51% of births in the UK took place outside of a marriage. 42% of children in the European Union and 40% of children in the US are also born to unmarried parents. For countries where this is acceptable socially, the decline in marriage does not necessarily spell trouble for the country's demographics. But in other parts of the world, most notably in East and South Asia, marriage and birth rates are highly correlated. Only 2.3% of babies are born outside of marriage in Japan, which means if people don't get married, they're also very unlikely to have children. This is a problem for Japan, the world's third largest economy and home to the world's oldest population.
The fall in birth rate is something that happens in many countries. Governments all over the world are worried because of economic implications.
From state-funded matchmaking apps to marriage support concierges, the Japanese government has introduced several incentives to promote marriage, but so far, nothing has worked.
So let's take that into consideration. We're talking about religion and the part that religion has played in putting households together and keeping households together. Well, there's been a rise of secularism, aka life without religious backing, or people who have walked away from the church. You've had a rise of children being born outside of the marriage or being born outside of that structure. Over there, and again, it's not just affecting people here in the United States, it's affecting people all across the world, but it's affecting them differently. Because places where religion still means something and it's still a very big deal, people are not having children at all. And it's leading to a decline in birth rates in those nations. And it's so serious that the government is stepping in to offer incentives to get married to keep the birth rates up. And it's like, that's crazy.
There is this, financial constraint that people feel that they may not be able to support a family and raise children.
A similar problem is troubling authorities in neighboring China, which registered the fewest marriages in 2022 since public records began. The country also saw its birth rate fall to a record low the same year.
By 2050, China's working population will reduce by 10%, and not enough, babies born to fill that gap. And the, dependent population, those who reach retirement age, will double.
In a sharp reversal from its former one-child policy, the Chinese government encourages marriage and childbirth since 2016. But this time, it's Chinese women who have reservations about married life.
And the women tend to spend significantly much more time than their husband in childcare and other related care. And also the Chinese workplace is not very women-friendly. And why women don't want to get married, why women don't want to have children, is because this society is not women-friendly, the society is not child-friendly.
Men talk about the personal freedom that they get for not getting married, but at the same time, they are really worried that if they were to set up a family, they will not be able to sustain a family with their income.
So there you have it, guys. In this video by CNBC International, they are literally breaking down a lot of how money and financial reasons are huge bearings on why people are not getting married like that anymore. And like I said, it's not just a us thing, it is a across the board thing. It's everywhere. It's in industrialized nations, third world nations, it's everywhere. It's a issue. And this is a big deal. So no matter how you personally feel about marriage, I cannot speak on it in any way, form, or fashion. What I can tell you is that it is highly essential that we start really taking this into consideration, understand it. Are we moving away from marriage? Is this something that is going away? Is it going away by the dodo bird? Is it something that's still necessary? When you look at the income, you look at the benefits, and you look at everything that's going on with it, is it still viable today and going into the future for us to continue the institution of marriage? Anyway, guys, that's my time. Make sure you guys like, subscribe. Make sure you guys comment, whatever have you in the video. If you guys like what you see, if you don't like what you see, kick, scratch, gnaw at the screen, however you feel necessary. But make sure that you hit one of those buttons on the side, and we'll be back with you guys to tune into another great video. Thank you for y'all time today. This is Phil Jones, Mike Jones, have you know me personally or professionally, and this is another episode of the Extraordinary Man Podcast. Peace.